Time was up. The landlord smirked, waving eviction papers like a weapon while movers stomped up the porch steps. Rain glazed the pavement, phones lit up from every corner, and Eleanor clutched the brass key to her chest as if it were life itself. Walter tightened his grip on his cane, refusing to move. Then a horn ripped through the silence. A black sedan screeched to a halt at the curb. Out stepped a woman in a navy suit, papers gleaming in her hand. Behind her rolled a military jeep, a soldier emerging in full uniform. An SUV followed, cameras flashing. The crowd gasped. Who were they? And why did the landlord suddenly look like he'd seen a ghost? The porch light flickered once as children linked arms in front of their parents. What happened next would flip the entire block upside down. But before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world and helps us bring you more stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. Leave this house. The landlord's words echoed cold, but Walter only laughed, soft and tired, the kind of laugh that carried dust. He steadied his mug with a trembling hand, setting it gently beside Eleanor's pillbox. Eleanor pulled a worn ribbon from her pocket. At the end of it hung a brass key, smooth from years of use. She pressed it to her palm like a prayer. The bungalow smelled of lemon oil and old books. Sunlight glinted off the mantel where one photo stood out, 3 smiling children between a younger Walter and Eleanor. Adoption Day, Eleanor whispered. We built a life here. Every wall remembers. But outside, trouble circled. A car crept past the window. Victor Halloway, the landlord. He had a habit of lurking, tapping notes on his phone, pretending to count cracks in the driveway. Neighbors peeked through curtains but pretended not to see. He wants that lot, someone muttered. Another voice cut sharper. Old folks won't last the winter anyway. The words hung like frost. Walter sat on the porch swing, the chain squeaking. He rubbed a scuff on his shoe stubbornly. Victor raised a camera to his face. Morning, he called too brightly. Lease terms are clear. Market's changed, so have your rights. Rights don't change with prices, Eleanor said firmly. She stood tall, tightening the ribbon around her key. You served notice. We appealed. You know that. Victor's smile thinned. Appeals expire. Deadlines pass. He stepped closer, polished shoes stopping on a cracked tile. I'll be back with movers. He turned with a smirk. And soon whispers grew legs. By noon, the block buzzed. Someone filmed the peeling paint, calling it an eyesore. Someone else mentioned a developer drooling over corner lots. A teenager pedaled past, muttering, if this goes ugly, it'll go viral. Inside, Eleanor traced the glass of the photo, remembering the first night the kids slept there. How the house seemed to sigh their names. Walter bent slowly to pick up a fallen letter, his face twisting with pain. We're not leaving, he whispered. Eleanor nodded, fingers brushing the brass key. The porch light flicked on early, dust spinning like stars. Outside, Victor snapped one last photo and whistled as he walked away. The house seemed to listen. Then came the envelope. Thick. Final notice. 30 days. Walter read it twice, lips moving. He tucked it under a cookbook as if paper could hide inside butter and flour. Our appeal is pending, he muttered, holding Eleanor's hand the way he used to during hospital nights. Neighbors whispered. 30 days. He'll flip the house by summer. Another voice, sharper. City doesn't care. Watch. Eleanor and Walter built small defenses. She packed boxes, not for moving, but for proof. Adoption papers, Sunday school crafts, a birthday card with 3 messy signatures. Walter collected receipts. Every hour, Eleanor touched the brass key, checking its pulse. But Victor accelerated. Certified letters, a contractor measuring windows, notices stapled to the maple tree, red ink bleeding in the rain. He loved the crowd. Just following the law, he said loudly enough for phones to hear. Cameras filmed the ceiling, never the receipts in Walter's folder. Then the sheriff's postcard came. Possession date. Eleanor's voice caught but steadied. We hold, she said, laying the card face down. Nights dragged with sirens, pipes clanging. Walter lay awake, whispering his children's names into the dark like a roll call. Morning came with no mercy. A moving truck prowled the block like a predator. Neighbors gathered with phones ready. If they drag them out, a teen whispered, tag me. Victor arrived with his folder, smug. The sheriff stood beside him blank. Eleanor stood on the porch, the brass key pressed into her palm. Walter braced his cane. "Your math is a trick," he said, waving receipts. The sheriff barely glanced. Procedure moved like a tide. Victor snapped his fingers. Movers climbed the steps. Boots thudded. Phones rose like a forest. The air tasted metallic. Eleanor closed her fingers around the key. "We are not alone," she whispered. The movers reached the door. Then another horn, deep, steady, heads turned. A sleek black sedan slid into view, stopping hard at the curb. From the back stepped Sarah, tall, steady, in a navy suit sharp as a blade. The crowd gasped. "That's a lawyer." "She looks expensive," but Sarah's eyes locked only on her parents. She crossed the lawn with calm precision. "Hold the eviction," she declared, voice slicing through the rain. She handed the sheriff papers stamped with injunction. "Filed this morning. You can't move them. Not today. Not tomorrow." Victor's smirk cracked. He barked, "This is stalling." But another roar cut him short. A military jeep rolled in. David stepped out, metals gleaming, uniform crisp. His voice was low but carried like thunder. "Evicting seniors under false grounds isn't civil. It's criminal. Elder abuse. You really want this on record?" The movers froze. Gossip rippled. "That's their son. Military." Victor stammered. You can't just show up in costume." But then a black SUV arrived, pulling eyes like gravity. Out stepped Michael. No uniform, no suit, just sharp confidence, and 2 press cameras trailing behind him. "Funny thing about markets," Michael said smoothly. "Developers love publicity until it looks like bullying old folks. Guess who's trending right now?" He held up a crisp document. "I bought the note to this property yesterday. Mortgage is mine. Which makes you trespassing." The crowd erupted. Phones shot higher. Gasps tore the air. Victor's handkerchief slipped. He bent, fumbled, cursed. On the porch, Eleanor pressed the brass key to her chest. Tears and laughter tangled in her breath. Walter wiped his eyes, leaning heavy on his cane. Now, all 3 children stood shoulder to shoulder before their parents. Lawyer, soldier, entrepreneur. Cameras zoomed in. The brass key gleamed. The storm had shifted, and for the first time, Victor looked small. He tried to argue, but Sarah's voice cut sharp. "Receipts. Mortgage paid. Taxes filed. Utilities cleared. Fraud yours." She handed the sheriff a thick stack. He scanned them, jaw tightening. Victor's face flushed. "They're old. They won't fight." "Watch your tone," David growled, stepping closer, boots splashing. "Elder intimidation is criminal coercion. You'll answer to me." Gasps rippled. Victor staggered back. Michael stepped forward, envelope in hand. "And just so we're clear, I own this property. Paid in full. You're no landlord here, Victor. You're loitering." The word hit like a bomb. The crowd laughed, clapped, phones shaking in hands. Victor's folders slipped, papers scattering into the rain. He bent, trembling. Eleanor stepped forward, lifting the brass key high, ribbon dangling. Her voice was soft but carried down the block. "This key has opened our door for 40 years. No one, not threats, not greed, will take it from us." The crowd erupted in cheers. Neighbors clapped. Cameras flashed. The drizzle glittered in the porch light. Victor tried one last time, voice cracking. "This isn't over." "It is," Sarah cut in. The sheriff closed the eviction file and lowered his clipboard. "Effective immediately." Victor's face collapsed. He stumbled off the porch, storming toward his car as whispers followed like a swarm. The Brooks family stood united under the porch light, children shielding their parents, the brass key gleaming like a torch. For the first time in months, Eleanor and Walter could breathe. The landlord had come to erase them. Instead, their story became legend, etched into cameras, neighbors, and the very walls of the house. The home was theirs. The fight was over. The legacy secured, and if this story gripped you, remember, battles like this are happening everywhere. Don't let stories of loyalty, justice, and family power go unseen. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and share this video so more people can witness what happens when truth and love turn the tables.